Hello viewers, welcome to the channel. In this class, we will be discussing about few of the topics, that is special addresses, DHCP and NAT. So DHCP here stands for Dynamic Host Control Protocol. NAT stands for Network Address Translation, and one more topic is special addresses. So we have already discussed about classful addresses, classless addresses, and other than this classful and classless, there is a special case of addressing that is called as special addresses. Okay, let us start with the special addresses. Okay, so in this one we have different IP addresses which are used for some special purpose. Let us see one by one. In this one, the first special address is called as this host address. Okay, this host address is indicated by IP address, that is 0.0.0.0. so all the bytes or all the elements are 0 in this case, therefore it is called as this host. So actually, according to the norms of IP addresses, so 0.0.0 is not a valid IP address, it is an invalid IP address. But whenever a device it don't know its own IP address, so it can fill this 0 element before it could find its own IP address. So most of the time this is used, but this is not assigned to any of the system, it cannot be assigned, but it is used for some normal control operation. Before finding any regular IP address, 00 is filled, after that it is replaced by the original IP address. So I would like to show this example with one this command prompt. Okay, let me open the command prompt. So in this one I will be making use of command ping. So ping 0.0.0.0. So if I ping this one, then you can see here this is a translation failure. Okay, because this IP address is invalid, right? That is one proof I want to give. One more example which I want to show here is in this Wireshark. Okay, so I would like to open this DHCP. In this DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, you can check up here. Initially, your IP address, you can see this element, your IP address is 0, next IP address is 0, and relay agent IP address is 0. Initially in this DHCP protocol, the elements are filled with 0 elements. Before they know their own IP address, initially it is filled with 00. So for this purpose, this host IP address is used. Okay, so we'll discuss this in the DHCP protocol concept. The second IP address is special IP address is limited broadcast address. In this case, all the elements are 1, that is its highest value 255.255.255.255/32. So if you want to do the broadcasting, then again we'll set this IP address for this element. So you can see here that this DHCP, in this request, whenever a dynamic host control protocol request is made, it is initially broadcasted to all its connected devices. You can check here that it is 255.255.255. So this is a broadcast. This is a broadcast message. In this one, you can see that IP version, IP protocol is 255.255. Destination address is all elements are high, it is broadcasted. For this purpose, this IP address is. So another special IP address is this loopback address, that is starting with 127.0.0.0. So you can give, starting with 127, you can give any of the following values. This 0.0.0.0, this can go up to 255.255.255. So that is a variation. Only it is /8. This first byte is 127. It is fixed. Remaining these values can change. This is a loopback address. So this is a special address when it is used in some particular applications. Whenever a system wants to create its own server or its own website, whenever it wants to route back or a loop back, then this IP address is used. For example, if you are developing an website and you don't have any web server to host it, what you can do is you can create the website with this IP address, that is 127 dot following any values. Then whenever you send a request for this IP address, you will get back a response. But the server will be running in the same system. Both host and server will be there in the same system. So this is a loop back address. So I'll try to show you one of the example here. So here when I type ping 127.0.0.0 and I enter here, we can check it is a general failure, that is 127.0.0.0 all elements cannot be 0. We have to assign some value, that is 127.ping 127.0.0.1. if I assign this IP address, then you will get a reply. So even though I have not connected to this any of the IP address, but I am getting reply. So sent packets are 4, received packets are 0, 4, lost is 0, all the packets are received back, and this is a perfect IP address 127.0.0.1. okay. Now I want to clarify it bit more. So I'd like to open this Jupyter notebook in Anaconda 3. So this is one of the local application, local host. When I have opened it, I try to show you the IP address of this one. This Jupyter network will be opened up with the IP address of this HTTP 127.0.0.1. okay. So this indicates that this is running in a local platform. I am opening a Jupyter network and running the scripts online and getting back a response for myself only. So whenever you create a local host, that is host is itself the system, then we'll be using this IP address, that is 127.0.0. and next type of special IP address are private addresses. You can see here the IP address starting with this 10.0.0.0, and another IP set of IP address is 127.16.0.0, that is /12, and 192.168.0.0/16. this is the most commonly used by people, and 169.254.0.0/16. so these are the private IP addresses. In IP addresses, we classify IP address into two types. One is private IP address and public IP address. So whenever you connect to the internet, then to connect to internet we must require one IP address from the host side. So that will be a public IP address, where unique IP address all over the world is assigned only one IP address. But as we have shortage of IP addresses, because class A, class B, class C, they cannot fulfill all the IP addresses requirements, because there are huge number of devices all over the world. So you cannot assign unique IP address for everyone. Therefore, people will be using private addresses. So the private addresses are the one which are locally used. They can be repeated. That means this 192.168.0.0, this IP address can be used in one local area, local network. It can also be used by some other local network, but they will be local to a network. Means if you take example of an campus, for that campus all the systems connected together, they will be using private IP addresses, and globally the whole campus will be connected to the external world using only one public IP address. So for campus we access it using only one public IP address. And here comes the picture of NAT, that is network address translator, which converts this private IP address into public IP addresses. Okay, so we'll discuss this one in a short period of time. Okay, you can see here again the private IP address is one of the example here, that is 172.18.3.1 is the private IP address. These are commonly used. This can be repeatedly used in any other networks, but we have external address here, that is 25.8.3.2. This IP address is a public IP address. This will be unique for one system, but this can be repetitive. Within a campus, there can be repetitive possibilities are allowed. This is one of the example. another type of special address is multicast address. So that starts with 224.0.0.0/4. So these are reserved for multicast purpose. So special group of IP address will be created, and message is sent to only those group of people. So multicast addresses. One more I want to clarify. So all these IP addresses which are mentioned here, they cannot be used for accessing the internet. Okay, these are all not public IP addresses. All of them are special purpose. So these any router will not make use of this IP address for routing. Okay, so because these are all restricted utilizations, we cannot access the internet with these IP addresses. These are special IP addresses. So about these private addresses we'll discuss specially in the NAT concept. So the next concept is DHCP. Okay, that is dynamic host configuration protocol. Okay, dynamic host configuration protocol. So what is the specialty of this dynamic host configuration protocol is, so it makes whenever computers in a network are connected for the first time, they need to be assigned with a one IP address. Okay, but if you go on assigning IP addresses manually, assume that there are 1,000 systems in your network and you want to assign IP address for all of them, which should not be a repetitive and it should fall within a range, which should fall within a class. With all those considerations, it will take lots of time to assign. So but whereas this DHCP is such a protocol which will automatically assigns IP address for the host. Whenever they get connected to the network, it will assign one new IP address. Okay, and it is such that the IP address will not be same every time. Every time whenever a system connects IP address, it can get a different IP address. Okay, so that is the utilization of this DHCP. You can see the diagram here. Okay, whenever a computer, assume that this is a computer and this is a DHCP server. Okay, whenever a computer is turned on, it will not be provided with any IP address. So initially it will make one request for this DHCP to assign a IP address. Therefore what does it will do, and even the system don't know which is the server, that is a DHCP server. Initially it broadcasts a message, so that message is received by this DNS, then the DNS will assign one IP address for the system, and if it is satisfied for that system the IP address, then it will confirm back that it will further going to use the same IP address. Finally this DHCP server will finalize that IP address for one system. This is a general process. We'll discuss this process in detail. It is generally what I can say is, whenever a system is turned on, it requests for the DHCP server to assign one IP address. Then the DHCP server will assign one IP addresses which is free to that particular system. This is a general process. We'll discuss it in detail. You can see here, to get the connectivity of that internet IP address, we must require 4 different parameters. That is, first we must know the computer address, then we must have a prefix. Prefix indicates that we must have a network address, then followed by address of the router, then followed by IP address of the IP address or the DNS name of a server. Okay, we will discuss them in detail. So initially, how does this DHCP message format will be there? That is there. So before going into this process of explaining the frame format and how DHCP works, I would like to show you the real-time simulation of DHCP. How does it will assign an IP address its use? Then it will be very easy to understand this concept. To make a better understanding of this DHCP, how does it will work? So I have taken an example of this Cisco packet tracer. So we'll be connecting the network and configure it using DHCP and find out how does DHCP assigns IP address for the system. Okay, let us start. So here, first of all, I would be taking a server. Let me take one server and rename this as that DHCP server. It is a DHCP server for me, which is going to assign IP address for the system. Okay, now I would like to take few of the systems uh, which I need to assign IP addresses. Let me take one laptop. Three of the systems I have taken. For all these three need to assign IP address. To connect them all together, I would like to take the switch. Let me take one switch. Let me make it a more clear picture. Okay. So first of all, let me connect all of them with the wire. Now I have connected this all the systems. First of all, I confirm that these systems are not assigned with any of the IP address. Let me show you. When I hold on this first system, you can check that the IPv4 IP address is not assigned. It is not assigned. It is 0. Even for this system, it is not assigned, not set. Even for this system, it is not set. Even for this laptop, it is not set. Even I have not set any of the IP address for the server also. Initially what I am going to do is, first I will configure this server. Okay, in this server let me first assign IP address for it. Let me configure this server. Okay, so here I will assign IP address for it 192.168.0.1. So I am assigning one IP address for this server. Automatically the subnet mask is generated, and I don't want to assign any default gateway and DNS server right now. Okay, I have assigned one IP address for this server. Right, let me close this and show you. In this one you can check here the IP address of the server is 192.168.0.1. So now we have set IP address of the server. Still you can check the IP address of the systems are not yet set. So from this server, this is not at all configured still now. Let me configure it as a DNS server. So when you come for services, you can go for this DNS. So in DNS, let me first turn on this DNS. It is we are dealing with DHCP. So let us first turn on this DHCP, Dynamic Host Control Protocol. So the server is now going to act as a DHCP. Okay, the connections are fast Ethernet, and here the range of IP address should be assigned is given here. So starting IP address is 192.168.0.0, and it can go up to 255 different values. Okay, because we have taken a subnet mask of these three bytes are masked, therefore we can change go range only from 0 to 255. Okay, let us assign, but you can change this value because we have only 4 systems. Let me assign only 5 IP addresses. Let me 5 IP addresses. You can check here the maximum users now changed to 5. So we will be assigning only 5 IP address. That is enough for me. So now I have enabled this system as DHCP is turned on. It can assign 5 IP address for the system, its own network. So you can check here. Now this is my system not at all assigned with server DHCP server, whereas these systems are not at all set with IP address. So how to configure this system is, click on them, go to configure IP configuration. In this one it is still shown as static. So in case of static, what I will do, I will take 192.168.0.2. I can manually assign this IP address like this. Another method is using DHCP. It will be very difficult to assign an IP address manually like this. What I will do is, I will change the option here. I will click on DHCP. So you can check here, it is now requesting for IP address. Then we have already got the DHCP request successful. So automatically a IP address that is 192.168.0.2 is assigned to the system. So this is our server, DHCP server, whereas the first system is assigned with 192.168.0.2 IP address. Whereas if we come to this system, still they have not assigned. So I would like to show you the process, how does it will work. Therefore, let me turn on the simulation. So I will make a request, then capture the file, then would like to show you how the IP address is assigned. So in this one, the same process I am going to repeat. So just I will change this option to the DHCP. You can check the packets are going on here. So I'd like to click on those packets. The one of this packet, what process is this system, when it is connected, it will make a request to this DNS server that assigns some IP address for me. Then now the server will find out which all the IP addresses are free. One of the IP address it will assign back. This is the process which will follow. Okay, in this one you can check here where this packet is going to be requested, request packet. That is, you can check here the source IP address is 0 because the source system is not at all assigned with any IP address, whereas this destination is 255.255.255. So this is going to be broadcast message. It is sent to each and every system connected. Let me play this, you will see. So you can check, it will first go to switch, then it is from there it is actually broadcasted to all the systems. Okay, so these two systems will drop the packets, whereas the server will capture this packet. Let me click on that one. Now we can check here the source packet now is this one. It will send back one of the IP address. Now this server will send back one of the IP address to the system. Let me play this button now. So now it has assigned one IP address. This IP address is sent to, it is again broadcasted to all the system, whereas this system will accept the DHCP. Still it is ARP. Let me wait for DHCP message. So now DHCP message is coming. You can check here. I would like to click on this one and show you. Okay. So what was this is? So source IP address is 192.168.52, whereas it is broadcasting the IP address to all the users. Okay. Whereas now that packet was received from here to here, then now with this it is confirming back the IP address to the server. So finally there will be 4 handshake signals. For this is the last signal which will assign IP address for the system. Now we can check the click here. So at this process the IP address is changed. At this time the IP address will be assigned for this system. So you can check here the IP address is assigned for this system, that is 192.168.0.3. Okay, let me close this simulation. In this one you can check for this laptop still IP address is not assigned, whereas this I have assigned and this it is assigned, because we have to turn on this DHCP should be on. So when I now again the process I would like to show you complete process, what process will take place. I would like to repeat here. In this one, from this laptop, when I change this mode to DHCP, it is already requesting. You can check that it will send one message to this switch. It will be broadcasting all the message to this server. So the server will receive, whereas others are dropping this packet. One server will assign one IP address and it will send back to it will also broadcast. So it is broadcast to all the users based on the serial numbers. This is ARP message. ARP will work with switch. Let me wait for the DHCP. Now the DHCP has sent a message. It is also broadcasted to all the users. It is broadcasted, whereas these two systems will drop it and this system is going to accept it. So it will confirm back that I will be using this IP address which is assigned by you. It is again sent back to the server. It is broadcasted. Okay. Now this server will confirm that further as you can go ahead and use this IP address. It will be now not broadcasting. It is sent to only one user. Okay. So now onwards this system is also will have a IP address. It is going to confirm back acknowledgement to the server. Okay, you can check here. This system is now assigned with a IP address, that is 192.168.0.3. Okay, so this is how a DHCP will work. uh, Let me go ahead and explain it in a theoretical concept. First, let us see the DHCP operation. Later we can go for the frame format. So in this DHCP frame format, you can think of one, this is a client which is just now connected to the network, and IP address should be assigned to this client, and this is a server, this is a DHCP server which is going to assign IP address, and it is already having one IP address, that is 198.114.16.170. In previous simulation we had taken a different example. So the process I will repeat here again. So we'll be using DHCP. Initially this client, whenever it connects, it will send a DHCP discover. It is sent to it is actually not sent to the server, it is actually broadcasted to all the users. You can check here that we will be maintaining few parameters, that is, first is transaction ID, it is random number which is randomly set. Here it is 1001, it can be any number. And here we have, you can check server address, source port number, destination port number, source address, destination address. Always we'll be using this source port number and destination port numbers. Okay, I'll show you this in the packet again. You can think that these are the fixed port numbers. Okay, these are called as well-known port numbers. So there are two types of port numbers, well-known port numbers and ephemeral port numbers. So whenever you want to do a host want to do a personal application, then it can go for a ephemeral port number that will be usually above 1024, higher than 1024. Below 1024 will be having well-known port numbers to solve the problem of clashes, because at a time any application may use same port number, then that will lead to a clashes. To solve that problem, what we have done is, for DHCP these two port numbers are fixed. Okay, always a system will be assigned with port number 68, whereas DHCP server will be assigned with a port number of 67. Okay, we can think like that. So for DHCP we'll be using these two port numbers. We'll discuss in detail. You can check here in source address, that is 0.0.0. the system don't know its own IP address, and even it don't know the which is the destination IP address, therefore it is broadcasting. So as we have seen in the simulation, initially the system will broadcast a message. That message is sent to everybody, whereas when a server receives that message, it will look out, because the port number is designated 67. When it receives the message 67 with this destination port number 68, now it will now attach its own IP address. Its IP address is this one, that is assigned as now source. Now destination should be this system, but still now it don't know where is that system connected. Therefore what it will do, it will assign one new IP address, that is you can check this was a server IP address, and you can check your IP address here, that is 181.14.16.182. so the .182 is the IP address now the server is going to assign. So it will make changes in this packet. DHCP is offering one IP address, this is a DHCP offer. This is again, it is also broadcasted, it is a broadcast address. Now from the server it will broadcast the message to all the systems, because now they are matched with only transaction ID. Okay, when a packet comes with this transaction ID, remaining all the systems will drop that packet, whereas the client which was previously requesting will accept. Now this client will come to know that server is at this IP address, this is the server IP address. Now therefore what it will do, in the destination but server is assigning this 182 as the IP address for it. Therefore it will take the client address as 181.14.16.181. it has already accepted. So again, once it has accepted, it will confirm back to the server that I will be further going to use this IP address for future use. Therefore what it will do, again it will send a message, broadcast message for the server, for all the users, that with this server, this is the IP address it is going to use, and it is broadcasted to all the users using destination, that is IP address. You can check that now source address of this one is changed. Previously it was not having any IP address. So once it will take its IP address and it is going to broadcast, the server will receive this packet. Now server will be going to will be confirming that it is giving the acknowledgement that further yes you can use that IP address. Okay, now we can check that now the source IP address is the server's IP address. That server IP address is .170. The source IP address is also 170, but destination it is again broadcasting. So it is broadcasting the message that yes you can use this IP address. When this ACK is received back to this client, and it is now going to bind this IP address for future use for some duration, some amount of time. This system will be going to use this 181.14.16.182 as the its IP address. Okay, so why we are using broadcast purpose? Because whenever a system is requesting for the server and server is assigning one IP address for the system, then all the remaining systems connected to the network should know that the one of this IP address is already assigned to the system, and this IP address is assigned to a particular system. Further, any of the systems they can communicate with this client with this IP address. That means what I am going to make clear is when a IP address is assigned from a server to a client, that IP address should be known to all its users so that they can communicate. For this purpose, we are going to use the broadcast applications. Okay, now let us see about how DHCP message format will be there. So the same thing which I have discussed, the message which is going to exchange between this client and the server, what is the format of it? You can see here that again it is a 32-bit field. In this one, first 8 bits. First 8 bit will be of opcode. So this opcodes indicates either it is a request message or response message. So because we have 4 opcodes, that is request, broadcast, that is DHCP offer, DHCP request, DHCP acknowledgement. So for identification of them, we use this field. Then this hash type is the hardware type. For communication, which type of the mode we are using, either Ethernet or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, like that. And hash length is the length of the hardware address. Hash count is a further maximum number of hops which are going to jump. That means to connect more in the network connection, apart how many hops the device is connected, that is indicated by this field. The transaction ID is for each system when it starts the communication, that is request for IP address, it will set its transaction ID. It is a random number, it can be any value. Then time elapsed is the one, the time duration in which the client has already started its communication. So now flags are used for some applications like whether a broadcast message or unicast message or multicast message. For that indication, flags are used. You can see here client IP address is the one which client IP address will be assigned by the server, and your IP address is the same field. Again, the server is going to assign the IP address for particular system, and server IP address is the IP address of the DHCP server. And sometimes there will be a common gateway through which there will be a network communication takes place, or we are going to connect to the internet through this gateway, and that is the gateway IP address. It's out of scope now, we'll discuss later. Then client hardware addresses, that is MAC address of the clients, and the name of the server, because usually we don't identify a server with its IP address, that is Google. You can take that it is a www.google.com, whereas its IP address is like 172.169. something. So that is the name of the server. Then boot file will indicate. We usually don't require whenever a system connects to the internet, just by assigning IP address for a system is not sufficient. We have to provide lots of other information for the systems when it's connected to the internet. So this boot file indicates it will hold extra information which are required for a systems to get to know when it connects to a network. So again, there is an optional field is there. So if you want to add any other optional field that will provide extra information for a system which is going to connect to the internet, connect to a network, that can be obtained by this options field. Okay, so you can check here in this options field. Okay, so in this option field, as I discussed, so if whenever systems connect to a network, if you want to access any further information about the network, then they are all provided in this option. Then how does this server will provide the information? So server, whenever a system binds to the network, it will assign one IP address and it is confirmed that one IP address is binded to it. Further, it will show an magic cookie. So how does it is identified? I will show you. In the magic cookie, you can check the IP address in the magic cookie will be, if it is 99.130.83.99, then it indicates that next 60 bytes of informations are the information of the network, so which will be helpful for a system to be known. So then what all the informations will be there in this system, in these options? So option contains the informations in this format, like it is will be always in the tag length value format. You can check for if it is a tag length value, tag and length is of 1 byte, and value can be either like this, it may be DHCP discover message or DHCP offer, DHCP request, DHCP decline, DHCP acknowledgement, DHCP network acknowledgement, DHCP release, DHCP information. All these informations are provided by this optional field. Further, if you want to access any other further information, then it will be stored in a file, so that is called as this boot file. So all the informations will be stored in this boot file, and a system can access this boot file for further informations about the network. You can see here that there is one more parameter, that is two well-known ports. We have already discussed it, because whenever we start a communication, we make use of port numbers as 68 and 61. The source, that is system, will have 68, whereas server will have 67 port number. The DHCP request and response will take place between only these port numbers. The question is, why we require only these two port numbers? Why don't we assign any other port numbers? Like, why don't we assign this 56017 as a port number? Because these are the well-known port numbers. The range of port numbers, well-known port number, is from 0 to 1024. So that is 0 to after 1025, they will be called as temporary port numbers or ephemeral port numbers. They can be used by any of the random systems, whereas up to 1024 they cannot be used. They are used for some special purpose only. If we make the temporary port numbers as a port numbers for DHCP instead of these two, what happens? At a time, two systems will be requesting for one IP address. When they are requesting, they can set the same port number for communication. That will lead to clash. Okay, so to solve that problem, we will be setting this port number 68 and 67 when one system is using this 68 and 67 port number, and then this is fixed that it is only used for the purpose of DHCP only, or else it cannot be used for any other purpose. Therefore, this will solve a problem of clashing. We will be using file transfer protocol in this one. Why? Because I have already explained, whenever a system gets binded to a network, if it wants to get any further information, then it will make a FTP request for a boot file and get the access. We have already discussed here, that is, you can check, there will be a boot file information link, there will be a boot file name. So it will, for to access this boot file name, the system which is connected to a network should make a FTP, file transfer protocol, for this boot file and get this file and know all the informations. For safety purpose, DHCP will also use this error control. There are two strategies. DHCP, either it can use UDP, DHCP, or it can use timers. If it in case it uses a UDP, we are discussing about error control, which means whenever an error is occurred, that error has to be detected and has to be retransmitted, or we have to discard those packets. In case DHCP makes use of the checksum, in this case what it will do, if error is occurred, it will just drop those packets, so there will not be any further DHCP communications. In second case, DHCP, either it can go for timer. So in this case, it waits for some time duration. If the packet's correct time packet is not not received, then that packet is discarded, then retransmission policies are applied, then DHCP request is made again. You can see how does this DHCP works in transition mode. In this diagram, there is a simple diagram in which a frame state machine that is a finite state machine of a DHCP client is there. So it means a system which is connected to whenever it is requesting to the internet to the server, what will be its state, that is discussed here. So this is a finite state machine of a system which is requesting an internet IP address request, or as just IP address request for a DHCP server. So initially when it connects to the internet, so it will be in initialization mode. Okay, when it joins, it will be initialization mode. As we have discussed already, when it is connected, it will make a request for the server for a IP address. That is done by the using this message. DHCP discovery is broadcasted. Okay, so now when it is broadcasted, it is waiting for one IP address. Now it is in selecting mode. It is already requested for IP address. So once it is requested, now the server will offer the IP address. So many a times server will offer IP address. So if there is a perfect successful IP address is offered, then it will go ahead for further in the next state. If it is not assigned with any proper IP address, it will keep on looping until it gets an proper IP address. Once it gets an proper IP address, it will go for requesting message, that is select that offer and confirm back to the server that further I will be using this IP address. So further it will get back into request mode, requesting the server that I will be using this IP address for further communication. So if you sometimes if the server, if it gives a proper acknowledgement back, as you can go ahead and use this IP address, it will go get into bound mode. Sometimes server may give back a response that negative acknowledgement, that is DHCP negative acknowledgement. If it is not confirming back, then it cannot use that IP address. Okay, therefore it will get back into again initial stage. It has to start requesting again. Okay, so but if the server confirms, why this happens, why the negative acknowledgement will come, in some case you can think that at a time there will be many systems which will be requesting for IP address. In this meantime, a IP address can be requested to one system, whereas already it can be assigned to some other system. There will be multiple requests which will be coming. So in such cases, the server will give a negative acknowledgement. Don't if it is a successful binding, that is if IP address is successfully confirmed, then it is binding. You can think there are 4 handshake signals which are previously discussed in the previous diagram. When this is confirmed, then there will be the system will be in the bound state. So in this bound state, it will be using a IP address for its communication, fixed one IP address. But in real time, what happens? There is a time limit for which IP address will be assigned to a system. After some time duration, it has to be changed. That's why it is called as dynamic IP addressing, dynamic IP assignment, because there will be a time set. You can think of half an hour. So for every half an hour, IP address will be changed. So forcefully the IP address has to be changed. Okay, so it is not like that just whenever I turned on and turn off a system, IP address, new IP is assigned. It's not like that. There is also time bound. So that again, how does it will work, we'll see. So already one system is using a IP address which is assigned by the server. Assume that we check for a timer duration. You check for like if time duration is 50% of the total estimated time is over, then again the system has to make a DHCP request for if it wants to further continue with that IP address. Then after 50% of time, the server again has to confirm back with the acknowledgement that you can go ahead and use that IP address. If it does not happen, if we don't give ACK, instead it gives negative acknowledgement, then it will wait for some other time duration. So it will wait for a 75% of the time duration. So after that time duration, again it give request, again it goes for rewinding. Again that is nothing but it again makes a request again to the server. So if the server gives back again DHCP acknowledgement, then it will get back into bounded state. If it gives a proper acknowledgement, it gets back to bounded state. If it is not giving acknowledgement, if it is giving negative acknowledgement, so it has to give away that IP address, because that IP address will be maybe assigned to any of the other systems. The system has to go back to initial stage here and start the process again. So overall, there with a 4 handshake signals the IP address is assigned. That IP address is renewed for every some amount of time. That renewing is done at 50% of time. If it is not done, again it is requested after it is 70%, 5% of the time. If it is not done at that time, it has to start back with a new IP address request. Okay, you can just imagine that how this IP address is constantly changed for a system. Okay, this is a working of DHCP. Further, in this one I want to show you the real packets from my internet Wireshark. Let me show you from the Wireshark. Okay, here I have turned on the Wireshark. In this version I am going to capture the files of my hotspot. Let me turn on my hotspot here. First, whenever I connect my hotspot, connect. Let me stop here. So initially you can check here in this diagram that DHCP request is there. Let me open it up. So in this one, the DHCP protocol, as we have discussed initially, there will be 000 packets. Okay, and you can check that the port numbers will be 68 and 67. We have discussed that also. It will be yes. So this packet is actually the request packet. Initially when network is connected, it is making a request packet, and server, once it assigns IP address, you can check it is a broadcast message. Whereas once it assigns IP address, my system is assigned with 192.168.43.83, whereas the server which has assigned DNS, the DHCP is 192.168.43.1. From this system I have received this IP address. So this is my mobile hotspot IP address, whereas this is my system IP address which is currently assigned. Let me open this packet. You can check here as the network IP address is this one, whereas your client IP address is assigned is this one, it is a .83, and DHCP, this acknowledgement message, final message which is after binding. And you can check the port number, source port number 67 is a DHCP port number, whereas 68 is the port number of a system which will be requesting IP address. Also, I would like to show you the DHCP. Okay, and let me confirm back whether the IPSN is assigned to my system or not. We'll go back to my CMD and let me check my IP config. So you can check that is a IP, that is my Wi-Fi IP address. Okay, so 192.168.43.83, this is the IP address assigned to my system from my mobile hotspots. This is how the IP address will be assigned for a system using DHCP protocol. So I would like to show the same concept even here also. When I click on DHCP here, the DHCP packet is coming. Okay, let me open up these packets later and show you people how does this. You can check this packet, that is packet the DHCP packet. Okay, and this one, and let me show this packet. You can see the same packet here which we have discussed: client address, server address, relay agent, server host name, then this boot file and options field. Okay, the same fields are given in the notes also. This is a concept of DHCP. So the next concept is this NAT, that is network address translation. So a private address is assigned to a public address. So what are all those private address, public address, and how they are assigned? Let us see one by one. So in this one you can check that this 10.0.0002 10.255.255.255, that is 2 to the power of 24. that is 24 variations. So this is one set of IP address. Another set is starting with 172.16 up to 172.31.55. So 2 to the power of 20 is IP addresses, and 192.168.0.0 is the commonly used up to 192.168.255.55. That is 2 to the power of 16 because only 2 bytes are there. So the variables. So this is the IP. This set of IP address are called as private IP address. That means in any college or any campus or any institute, which will locally they will be using the same IP address, because a huge number of systems are there. We cannot assign IP address for each one of them. Locally people will be using this IP address only, but this IP address are not used to connect to the internet. Actually, in reality, one different IP address will be assigned to one of the campus. From the same that campus IP address only internet will be accessed, and this IP address can be reused in a college or in a campus. Okay, therefore these are all not used for internet accessing purpose. These are all locally assigned. So in real time, this IP address, private IP address, will be whenever a system of a private IP address wants to make a connect to the internet, then that private IP address is changed to public IP address, then it goes and connect with the internet. So that the translation is done by this network address translator. So there is a simple diagram which shows this one. You can check that there is one network here. So the network IP address is 172.18.3.30. So this is the network IP address. In this network there are systems, that is 3.1, 3.2, 3.20. These are the local systems. This IP address can be locally maybe there in a one of the LAN. The same IP address can be there in another different LAN in the same campus, okay, or in the different campus. These IP address can be reused, whereas with the same repetitive reused IP addresses, when they want to connect to the internet, okay, the another end of this router you can check here, that is now this 200.24.58. 5.8, this is the actual IP address which is assigned to this campus or this network. Any of the system of this network, when it wants to make to request for internet, then it will make use of this 200.24.58 to access to the internet. Okay, but now question is, then how does all the systems can use the same IP address to connect to the internet? In real time, all of them systems will not be connected to the internet in the same time, but they will be shared. That is, if one system is accessing the internet, then it is used by one of the, it is used for this purpose. Okay, at a time only this system can use this IP address for internet accessing. But in real time we also make use of port numbers. As you know that for different applications, one of the person may be playing a game, another may be browsing a browser. So at a time this user may use this IP address to access the browser, whereas this system may be using the same IP address to access play the online game. Now as they are two different processes, their port numbers are different, they are served. But problem comes when they want to use the connect to the same network or same internet IP. That means both of them want to browse the same web page at the same time. The problem will appear. So they can be solved using multiple this public IP addresses for a single network. So we'll discuss all those things in detail. So as of now, I want to make you clear is that these are all the private IP addresses, and when they want to connect to the internet, they will make use of a public IP address which is assigned by the internet service provider, where with this IP address they are going to connect to the internet. Then how does this address translation is done is shown in this diagram. We can check that there is a system with IP address 172.18.3.1. This is the private IP address, local IP address which is used, and global IP address has to be converted when it wants to interconnect to the internet. And don't think that if within a local area network, if the system wants to communicate, for example in this previous diagram, if these both systems can want to communicate, they may use the same IP address for communication. Locally there is a no problem. Whenever they want to connect to the globally, that is with internet access, then only this problem arises. So locally data sharing within a network using the private IP addresses, there is no problem. Okay. You can see here, whenever this system wants to connect to the internet, the destination IP address is this. Destination IP address is different one. So now this system wants to connect to a internet. It makes a request. Okay, so actually requesting IP address is 172.18.3.1. so it is local IP address. When it passes out of this NAT router, it is not address translation router, its IP address, source IP address is changed. You can see here, this is changed to 200.224.5.8. so with this IP address, it's connect access to the internet, get back a response to this IP address. Okay, and again it is translated back. This is private to public translation and public to private translation. When a message comes to this IP address, it is same this destination IP address, it is again mapped to a private IP address. So this 200 again changed source as a destination IP address. Now it is changed to 172.18.3.1. so like this, private is changed to public whenever it is connected to internet, and again back from public is changed to private whenever a data is coming from internet is delivered to a system. So whenever, if we have only one system like this, then there is no problem actually. But when we have multiple systems, then problem comes. How does this problem is solved is discussed here. Okay, so different NAT mode of operations are discussed in this one. How does this problem is solved? We'll discuss. Using one IP address, how this problem is addressed. You can think of this diagram. Okay, you can think of this diagram, and how does this IP address translation is done. You can check. Whenever we want to do the network address translation, we maintain this network address translation table so that multiple users in the local network, they can be use the same single outgoing public IP address. So how it is done, we'll see here. So you can check the destination IP address is 28.8.2.10. Okay, whereas source IP address is 172.18.3.1. so this you can think of the Google IP address which you are requesting to Google server, whereas this is a local system IP address within the LAN. So when it goes out of the request, goes out of this router, the source address from private, it is changed to public. The destination IP address is same, whereas this source address now it is changed to 200.24.5.8. This is the public IP address of this network. Okay, with this request, destination source, it goes to a request and gets back a response. So now we can think that this table is entered in this translation table. That is, this from this local IP address, the request is made to this external link, that is Google, you can think. So every time from one local IP address, what they are requesting in the server, the destination, using this destination IP address, so they will be usually mapped. So at a time, one system may be accessing one destination, or some other system may access other different IP address externally. So based on these external IP addresses, they will be maintaining a table so that when a data from this external entity comes back, a response will come back to the system. Okay, using the same table, they will route back to the same IP address. You can check that. Now request is made when the data from a destination, that is the destination was this one, it is giving a response. So now source is this one, whereas destination is my this router IP address. But when it comes to this table, we have already entered that this was the external link which was requested by the particular IP address. Then the data will be routed to the same IP address which was requested. Like this, you can think that 3.2 may be requesting for 2.20. Then when a reply from 2.20 will come, okay, that will be delivered to 3.2 only. Like this, we make a table of private accessing to external IP address. It is the request IP address, destination address, which what it's making. Based on that, we maintain a table. Then based on that table, at a time, multiple devices can access multiple different internet services. The problem comes when many systems are accessing the same external IP address. Problem will arise. Okay, so how does those problems are solved, we'll discuss. So now let us go for using a pool of IP address, how they can be solved. When we go for accessing pool of IP addresses, so when multiple systems in the LAN, the multiple private systems will access the same destination internet link, and how does that can be accessed. So what we do is, instead of previously we had is this 200.24.5.8 as the public IP address. Now instead of this using only one IP address, what people will do, people will make use of like this four different IP addresses. That indicates that four users with the four different public IP addresses can access four the same. Now at a time four users can access the same destination internet link. So this is the special provision provided by this internet accessing. So but there is a limit, but only a maximum a campus can have four different public IP address. More than that it cannot be provided. Okay, therefore, so at a time we have solved that previous problem. So in this case, you can think that one private entity is requesting a link for one external link. But what is the problem is, when four different such systems access to the same external link, then there will be a clash. For that purpose, what we'll do, we'll maintain four different public IP addresses, and we pass the request using the of all four different public IP addresses and get back the response. So that problem is solved. So this is an NAT. So another, if we go further ahead, not only we can go for different accessing, we can also go for this using both IP addresses and port numbers. We can go for port number requesting based on that. So you can think here that there may be a different. You can think that the IP address is. You can think that there are two IP addresses which are private. They are requesting to the same external link, that is 255.8.3.2, the same external link. They are making a request, and the external link port number is also same 80.80p TCP. So in this case there is a clash will occur. To solve that problem, what we do, each private IP address, when it is making a request, it has its own port number. Like each process will have its own IP address, its own MAC address, its own port number. Therefore locally it has a port number 1400, whereas this has a 1401. Okay, so based on not only using based on the local port numbers also, we can reroute the data. Okay, so at this time again there will not be any clash. So you can either go for different public IP address, or we can make use of the local port numbers to segregate this problem. So this is the concept of network address. In this one, I am going to end up this topic using one more small topic, that is forwarding of the IP address. So if I take a router, then how does the routing of the packets or forwarding of the packets will be there in a router? So we have already discussed in the one previous session how does this route selection will takes place. To make use of this route selection, we must have a mask of a IP address, then network IP address and interface number we must know, and IP address of the next router. So you can think here that we are in a router, there is a incoming request and we need to select the outgoing branch. You can think here that if M0 is the incoming request and outgoing, either I have to set as M1 as outgoing or M2 as outgoing. That decision has to be taken place. To make use of that decision, what we have to do is, it is based on a network address. So we must have a network address, and for this network address we have this /n. That /n will indicate that number of bits in network address. With this slashing we'll come to know how many network bits are there. So if I know this number, then I will come to know what is a network address. So we have already solved few of the problems in previous classes. Once I come to know the network address, and you can think that there is a routing table. So for each network table there is a interface link is matched. So what will be the next hop address is indicated. So for each network address, what is the next outgoing link is selected. So when we come to know the network address, there its interface is mapped. Therefore for this IP, this will be the next interface for this IP, this will be the next interface for this IP, this will be the next interface. Based on that, when a data comes, when I know the network, so for each network is mapped to a network interface, so it will forward that to particular link. Data can be forwarded using network address to this link, or it can be forwarded to this link or any other link. So based on this one, they forward the packet. So in some other case, there is another method called as multi-purpose label switching, MPLS protocol. So instead of not based on network address and that interface link, people will also make use of labels. Based on labels, routing will be there, taking place. This is a simple example of the packet, that is a network layer IP payload. That is in the network layer we have a payload. For that network IP address is added. So apart from this, we add one extra header that is called as MPLS header, that is labels. With the labels we are adding extra headers. Label format is of 4 bytes. It is the same like IP address format size. So you can see here that time to leave, and this is one of the special bit, and exception it is not used, and label. So you can see there is a 20-bit fields of labels are there. So each label will be indicating one outgoing link in the router. So one label may be linked to one router, another label may be linked to another router. You can just think of a router here. That is we have discussed here as a router. Previously we had network address mapped to one interface. In this case it will be just instead of network address we'll be having label 1 mapped to one interface, label 2 mapped to another interface, label 3 mapped to another interface. So whenever we get a label address, that will be routing to a particular interface. From label it is going to next link, either it may go to based on particular link, right? So based on labels, the routing link can be, further forwarding link can be selected. So this is the concept of forwarding. Okay, thank you.